Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Neem Korsaro and here's what we've lined up for you on Speed News today. US President Donald Trump expressed strong dissatisfaction with Vladimir Putin's handling of the war in Ukraine during a White House cabinet meeting. He said that he is considering additional sanctions on Moscow and criticized the high number of casualties. Trump reiterated that he was very unhappy with Putin's stance on the war in Ukraine, calling his diplomatic efforts meaningless. This comes after a recent phone call between the two leaders failed to make progress on a peace deal that he pushed for since returning to power. The Israeli military conducted a targeted strike near Tripoli, Lebanon, killing Mehran Mustafa Bajor, a senior Hamas commander in Tripoli. This is the first targeted killing in the area in several months. In the video, a car is seen to be moving along the road, followed by the explosion. Lebanese state media says 3 people died, 13 were injured in the attack. Protesters in Paris formed a red line demonstration to condemn war in Gaza and demand international action led by associations and collectives, including Médecins du Monde. They call for massive commitment from the international community to address this issue. The protest highlighted concerns over Israel's actions in Gaza and demanded an end to the blockade, a ceasefire and accountability for alleged human rights abuses. King Charles III hailed UK-France ties as he hosted a royal banquet at Windsor Castle in honor of French President Emmanuel Macron, who was on a state visit to the country. In his address, the British monarch urged the two nations to lead in the face of complex threats. Macron highlighted defence cooperation between the UK and France and called on for strengthening Europe and protection of international order. He also reiterated Europe's commitment to Ukraine and vowed to fight till a ceasefire achieved for sustainable peace on the continent. US President Donald Trump is hosting 5 African leaders for a White House lunch to discuss commerce and trade, focusing on strengthening economic ties, and leaders of Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania and Senegal are expected to explore potential trade deals, investments and security partnerships and discuss other topics as they meet in the Executive Mansion State Dining Room. For the first time in nearly 20 years, travelers will no longer be required to take off their shoes during security screenings at checkpoints at US airports. Transportation Security Administration Secretary Kristi Noem announced the change to a security step that has for years bedeviled anyone passing through US airports. Earlier, all passengers between ages of 12 to 75 were required to remove their shoes, which are scanned along with carry-on luggage. The new move comes as Trump administration pushes to make travel more seamless. Former Australian Foreign Minister Gareth Evans stated that Australians' trust in the US has significantly dropped due to President Donald Trump's unpredictable and self-serving policies. Referencing the Lowy Institute's 2025 polls, Evans highlighted that only 36% of Australians trust the US to act responsibly, marking a 20 percentage point decline in just 1 year. Evans attributed this decline to Trump's approach to international relations, democracy, human rights and civil liberties, which many Australians perceive as arrogant and dangerous. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim urged Southeast Asian countries to act with purpose and boost trade among themselves amidst uncertain global conditions. Speaking at the 58th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting, Anwar Ibrahim emphasized the need for cooperation in the face of rising tariffs, export restrictions and investment barriers, which he described as the sharpened instruments of geopolitical rivalry. Anwar's statement comes after US President Donald Trump announced hefty levies of between 25% and 40% in 6 Southeast Asian countries, despite concerted efforts by some to offer broad concessions and to negotiate lower rates. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for 2 top Taliban leaders, accusing them of persecuting girls and women in Afghanistan. In a statement, the ICC said that Habatullah Akhundzada, Supreme Leader of the Taliban, and Abdul Hakim Haqqani, Chief Justice of the hardline Islamist group, are criminally responsible for carrying out persecution on gender-based grounds since at least 15th of August 2021. The Taliban called the arrest warrants nonsense, writing in a statement that it does not recognize the ICC. Colombian prosecutors seized 2 Bogota offices belonging to Perenco, an Anglo-French oil company, following allegations of financing paramilitary groups in northeastern Colombia between 1997 and 2005. The prosecutor's office announced that the offices and assets valued at approximately $10 million will be used to compensate victims of paramilitary violence in the department. China has officially completed its first teaching and practice base for the simulated Moon underground space program by Jingpo Lake, city of northeast China's Heilongjiang province. The base, a collaboration between Peking University and 7 other universities, aims to conduct research related to deep space exploration. The lava pipes at the Jingpo Lake are considered similar to the Moon's underground space, providing a unique environment for scientists to study and prepare for China's lunar exploration program. Greece's iconic Acropolis has been closed temporarily amid the second major heat wave of 2025, with temperatures reaching 40 degrees Celsius in many places across the country. The Hellenic National Meteorological Service issued high-level alerts for southern Greece and southeastern islands, warning of significant disruption to daily activities. Meteorologists predict the heat wave will persist through Wednesday before temperatures gradually decline nationwide starting Thursday. A series of earthquakes struck Guatemala, causing widespread damage but no fatalities. A 5.2 magnitude quake hit southern Guatemala, about 60 kilometers from Guatemala City, followed by at least 37 aftershocks ranging from 3.9 to 5.6 magnitude. President Bernardo Arevalo reported minor damage, including collapsed adobe houses and landslides blocking roads in Santa Maria, Footage showed damaged buildings and downed trees. Authorities rescued 2 trapped people and were working to free 3 others. The National Coordinator for Disaster Reduction announced the suspension of classes and public activities in the regions for damage assessment. At least 3 people are missing in a mountain village in southern New Mexico that is a popular summer retreat after monsoon rain triggered flash flooding. Floodwaters trapped people in their homes and cars in the mountain village as rain triggered flash flooding and an entire house was swept downstream. Emergency crew carried out at least 85 swift water rescues in the area, including of people who were trapped in their homes and cars, said Daniel Silva of the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Oh my God! Oh.
Governor Greg Abbott said that more than 160 people remain unaccounted for after devastating floods in Texas. Tuesday marking a dramatic increase in the number of missing from a tragedy that has so far claimed 109 lives. This comes 4 days after flash floods roared through several Texas counties, some in the middle of the night. Hopes of finding survivors were fading, and Governor Greg Abbott warned that the list of those unaccounted for could yet rise. The death toll from the ongoing monsoon fury in Himachal Pradesh has risen to 85. 54 people lost their lives due to rain-triggered disasters like landslides, cloudbursts, flash floods and drowning incidents, while 31 people have died in road accidents. According to the State Disaster Management Authority, the total monetary damage to public and private property has exceeded 718 crore rupees. In Chhattisgarh, heavy rain continues to batter many districts. Roads are flooded and water has entered homes in low-lying areas. In Korba's Devdari Falls area, police and administration rescued stranded people as overflowing rain clogged roads and even entered houses. The rivers and streams are overflowing. Several villages have been cut off from the district as well.
आओ कोई जन है कोई थोड़ी आओ
और कितने जने हैं?
The dollar strengthened to a more than 2-week high against the yen as US President Donald Trump pledged more trade-related proclamations after announcing 25% tariffs on Japan and other trade partners. The greenback advanced against major peers after Trump's latest threats of tariffs that are now due to start on the 1st of August, but he later said he was open to extensions if countries made proposals. The dollar index, which measures the greenback against 6 major peers, is still down more than 6% since the 2nd of April unveiling of Trump's sweeping Liberation Day reciprocal tariffs. The dollar climbed 0.4% against the yen, the Australian dollar slid 0.2%, the New Zealand dollar traded lower by 0.2%. Oil prices edged down after rising to 2-week highs in the previous session. This as investors awaited new developments on US tariffs amid expectations of rising crude inventories in the United States. Brent crude futures trade around $70 a barrel. There are concerns that tariffs could curb demand for oil And while there was strong travel demand during the US holiday weekend on the 4th of July, data from industry sources showed possible crude inventory builds in the US. On the supply side, the US will produce less oil in 2025 than previously expected, as declining oil prices have prompted US producers to slow activity this year. China's producer deflation deepened to its worst level in almost 2 years in June as the economy grappled with uncertainty over a global trade war and subdued demand at home, while consumer prices rose for the first time in 5 months. The uptick was marginal as a prolonged housing market downturn in the world's second biggest economy added to headwinds from US President Donald Trump's tariffs on trading partners. As subdued domestic demand remains a drag on China's economy, companies have resorted to price discounts to boost sales, prompting the authorities to urge an end to the auto industry's bruising price wars. US aeronautics company Boeing said that it delivered 60 airplanes in June. That's a 27% increase compared to a year prior and includes 8 Chinese customers for the first time since a trade spat between the US and China ended. Beijing had banned delivery of Boeing aircraft in April as a tariff dispute escalated between the world's two biggest economies, but in May it removed that ban. Aircraft deliveries are closely tracked by Wall Street because plane makers collect much of their payment when they hand over the jets to customers. The surge in deliveries comes as Boeing seeks to recover from years of production setbacks and crises that have left it burdened with debt, underscoring the critical importance of ramping up deliveries to stabilize its finances.